Texas and Oklahoma descending upon the state fair for the 119th edition of the Red River Showdown. But it's a rivalry off the field as well. Two top 10 classes going head to head for the same recruit. So for more, let's welcome in Hank South of Horns 24/7 and Collin Kennedy of Sooners Illustrated. Collin, I'll start with you. Oh, you're ready for your photo shoot too. Okay, we got to get I don't know what those spinny cameras are. Let's just rent them and put them in studio here. Invite everyone. All right, Collin, the winner of Saturday's game stays undefeated. They take the outright lead in the Big 12. Bragging rights, so a lot on the line here. But typically these schools are fighting for the same prospects as well. So take us through the list of the top prospects at the Cotton Bowl this weekend that both schools here are targeting.
Yeah, there's a running joke to start it off right now. This may be the 119th edition of the Red River Rivalry, but it's the very first edition of the Michael Fasusi Bowl. And I'll tell you, I don't know if we're going to get a second edition by the time he potentially makes a decision, but we'll see. Obviously, a lot of recruits like to try and wind things down prior to their senior year. And look, five-star offensive tackle Michael Fasusi is probably going to be no different. And these two programs are heavily in the mix. I actually talked to Michael earlier in the week about how excited he is to get there. And I can tell you on the Oklahoma side of the equation, I actually talked to a source today about just how excited they are that he's going to be in the building. This is one that OU really wants badly. I mean, Kevin Sperry, 2025 quarterback commit, has gone out of his way to go and recruit Michael whenever he's on campus. They're constantly in communication with Michael any chance that they get, and Bill Beanbo has obviously left a mark on this recruitment, as you'd expect. But overall, that's the guy you have to lead off with, right, Hank? I mean, Michael Fasusi is arguably the biggest name going to be in attendance on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's not the only one in that DFW area on the offensive line that both these teams are recruiting. I think he's probably the biggest name, like you just mentioned. But, Lamont Rogers, Ty Haywood, two additional guys in that DFW area that Texas, at least, is pushing for in that 2025 class. Along the offensive line, they're kind of hitting a hot streak now in 2024. They just added Brandon Baker, the five-star offensive tackle from Mater Dei High School. They're only probably going to take at least four linemen in the 2024 class, so that might open the door for some, bigger numbers in 2025. Another guy I obviously want to mention is Kobe Sellers, a four-star cornerback from Pearland. He's going to be in attendance, and he's a guy that this one could come down to Texas and Oklahoma when all is said and done. He's actually a Baton Rouge native, but the schools we've been hearing the most about with him, at least through the summer and early in the fall, have been Texas, Oklahoma, and Baylor. And he is interested in LSU and Texas A&M, but I think ultimately this one could come down to the Sooners and the Longhorns. So he's expected in attendance. A lot of the commitments, obviously with Texas being the home team, they've been able to invite a good number of guys. And that's also, a built-in benefit of the Cotton Bowl is it's in a recruiting hotbed. So, they can get a lot of these big-name targets that both of these programs are going after year after year.
Hank, this will be the final time.
Oh, Blair, wanted to mention real quick, too, because Hank's done an outstanding job of the visitor list and some of the big names. The maybe on that list is Jonah Williams, right? I mean, Jonah Williams is a five-star in the class. Both Texas and Oklahoma really want this guy, and if he does show up currently down as a maybe, that's huge for both programs as well. So even with the visitors list being what it is, Jonah Williams could even add to it.
Hank, this will be the final time that these two teams face off as members of the Big 12. Do you view this game as a measuring stick game as both programs try to size each other up ahead of their move over to the SEC and what their recruiting needs might be?
Yeah, I think so. It's funny, as much as these two teams are rivals and it can get so heated, They've kind of been a little bit of partners lately, with this Big 12 exit. It's almost kind of like the Forget You Bowl for the Big 12. They want to show this conference, what they're losing next year with, Brett Yormark's comments and all that. So, I think in terms of measuring stick, I think we both knows what we know what both these teams can bring to the table. Obviously, Texas measured up pretty well earlier this season against Alabama. Oklahoma has been in the playoff consistently. They've competed against SEC teams. So, I think Oklahoma obviously wants to have a little bit better of a showing this year ahead of their move to the SEC, especially, with this 2024 class being the first full recruiting class each of these programs is going into the SEC with. So certainly want to have a good showing. But in terms of measuring stick, I think both these teams, blue blood college football programs, I think they're only going to add to this, add to the SEC, and with everything they bring to the table.
Yeah, I think for Oklahoma, it is a measuring stick to a degree. I think Texas is a little bit further along than OU right now. And I think Oklahoma staff would even tell you they're still trying to build further and further towards the SEC and the type of level of play you have to have. And a lot of that has to do with the 2024 class, right? I mean, OU said to bring in a number of defensive linemen, could be looking for more, trying to get more offensive line commits as well. And obviously they're trying to put together another impressive class under Brent Venables. And the roster overhaul that's taken place over the past 2 years is notable, to say the least, but it's still a work in progress. And I think for Texas, they've done an outstanding job of building up in the right places. Oklahoma's actively trying to get there, and they've done a great job to this point. But I think, again, even they would tell you they're still trying to surge in certain departments in order to make this roster look exactly the way that Brent Venables and his staff want it to look like.
I don't know how I've never heard this be referred to as the Forget You Bowl, but Hank, I'm going to have to start calling it that now. Just a reminder to everyone, please like this video if you haven't done so already. Help us continue getting the content out there. There you go, Collin with the thumbs up dance, stealing that from Wiltfong. Collin, I'm actually coming back to you. Oklahoma's 2024 class right now does have the edge in the recruiting rankings. They sit 7th nationally with 24 commits. That includes 2 5-stars and 12 4-stars. Now, 24 commits, that's a pretty full class. So are they kind of done on the trail right now? And if not, who else might they be looking to add?
They're basically wrapped up to a degree. I think that there's a few more names out there that Oklahoma fans are keeping an eye on as potential additions to this 2024 class. Namely, the guy that's going to eventually make his decision next week, Daniel Akinkunmi, the #1 rated player in England. He is an offensive lineman who actually took in his first ever college football game in person in Norman, Oklahoma. And if you know anything about Norman, Oklahoma game day atmospheres, it'll leave a lasting impression on you. And then on top of that, once he was able to go experience Norman in person, meet with some other commits for Oklahoma, and he had Wagyu beef for the first time out in Oklahoma too, so not the worst thing in the world either. He actually ended up canceling a number of his visits after that trip. And so Daniel Akinkunmi is a potential addition coming up in the very near future. Again, he'll decide next Thursday, and Oklahoma's feeling good there. Next up, though, on the note of offensive line play, Grant Bricks. It feels like every single time I come on the show, I have to talk about this guy. And I hate to say it, but not much new to report. I mean, he's one of the biggest wild cards in this 2024 cycle. Oklahoma and Nebraska seemingly battling it out still, with Kansas State still hovering. Sometimes Oklahoma will feel really good on a particular day. Other days, Nebraska feels really good on a particular day. So this one continues to kind of drag out, and everyone's waiting to see what Grant Bricks will do. But Oklahoma would love to add this guy as one of the final kingpin pieces in the 24 cycle. And then to close it out, the notable name that's sort of arisen late is Reggie Powers, the former Michigan State commit at safety. 6'1"-ish, 200 pounds. Really ideal fit for what Brent Venables looks for at the safety position. And this is sort of a potential partnership that's increasing in likelihood. Reggie Powers, after his decommitment, I was told by a source they were going to try and feel some things out. Obviously, OU in the mix for guys like Michael Boganowski and Devin Jordan at safety. But as discussions have gone on between the two, our own Alan True reported that Powers will be on campus October 21st. And Oklahoma sources are feeling better and better about this one as the days go by. So Reggie Powers, definitely one of the newer names to know in 2024.
Texas, on the other hand, Hank, is 15th in the recruiting rankings. They only have 18 commitments, so there's still some work to do heading into December. Who are some names that you're monitoring as the Longhorns try to finish this class on a strong note?
Yeah, Texas fans have been kind of wondering, when is that Alabama win recruiting momentum going to, kick off? And obviously we saw Brandon Baker commit a couple weeks ago, 5-star offensive tackle. But some of the big fish they're still trying to add to this class are out there. You start with Steve mentioned Ryan Wingo, the 5-star wide receiver from Missouri. He's one of Texas's probably top 2 targets remaining in this class. It's going to be an opportunity where, Adonai Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, Jordan Whittington, they're out of eligibility, not out of eligibility, but potentially moving on after this season to the NFL. There's going to be opportunities for younger guys to step in, and Ryan Wingo is certainly a guy that, could be an immediate impact type player at the next level. Texas has been trending, but like Steve mentioned, like we've been mentioning, Mizzou is certainly a threat, and that's where he'll be this weekend. And probably the other biggest target of Texas remaining is Kobe Black, the 5-star cornerback from Waco. He's a guy that's expected at Texas A&M this weekend. He hasn't been to Texas yet this fall, to my knowledge. He still plans to get out to a game. Obviously, he's been to Austin a few times throughout his recruitment, so he's very familiar with that. But that's another recruitment where Texas has been kind of just chugging along there, being the trending team. Texas A&M obviously has them this weekend. I know LSU's been mentioned, Alabama's been mentioned, but I think this in the end could maybe potentially come down to Texas and Texas A&M for Kobe Black. With Texas, I think, is the team to beat. So those are probably the two biggest targets. You could mention other guys. Solomon Williams, the 4-star edge rusher. They recently put out a new offer to a defensive lineman committed to Auburn, Dimitri Nicholas. So definitely still guys in the mix, but I think in terms of the two biggest targets remaining, you go Kobe Black and Ryan Wingo.
All right, Hank South and Collin Kennedy, thanks so much for joining us. Enjoy the game on Saturday. And for more of their work, remember you can check it out at Horns 24/7 and Sooners Illustrated. But regardless of the team you root for, check out this deal. 2 months of 24/7 sports for $1. How's that sound? Yeah, all of it. I'm talking all of it for just $1. You can get the latest insider info before anyone else. Make some friends on the message boards. Sign up today, 24/7 Sports, 2 months for $1.